Prime Minister nominee Moon Chang-keuk's prospects for confirmation are cast in doubt. The motion has been delayed. The Saewol ferry trial goes into its next stage, and only one sailor of the 15 has pled guilty. Important witnesses will be called to the stand. And the government has lifted sanctions on car tuning in a bid to nurture the market to around $4 billion by 2020. Hello and welcome to News Today on KBS World. It's Wednesday, June 18th. I'm Luke Clary. The submission of a motion on embattled Prime Minister nominee Moon Chang-keuk has been delayed. There's also a shift in the mood within the ruling camp, which until now had said the nominee should be judged by the public through a confirmation hearing.
Submission of a motion calling for the confirmation of Prime Minister nominee Moon Chang-keuk continues to be delayed. The presidential office explains President Park Geun-hye hasn't yet formally approved the nomination as she's still on a visit to Central Asia. Moon made it clear Tuesday that he has no intent to step down.
청문회에 가서 국민에게 또 우리 국회의원님들에게 당당하게 제 의견을 말씀드려서 이해를 구하려 합니다.
But a shift is detected within the ruling party, which has been supportive of the former journalist. Saenuri party representative Chung-won has practically urged the nominee to step down voluntarily.
문 후보 스스로 심각한 자기 성찰을 해야 된다.
His words are said to be not coordinated with the presidential office beforehand, but his call on Moon is expected to have repercussions as Seo is a ruling party heavyweight. It's becoming more and more unclear if the motion on his nomination could pass a plenary vote. Saenuri floor leader Lee Won-gu has said the party will respect the decision made by individual members.
헌법기관이기 때문에 헌법기관으로서 각자의 판단과 각자의 입장과 각자의 정치적 견해가 있을 겁니다. 그걸 존중합니다.
For the motion to be approved, it requires a majority vote from a majority number of registered lawmakers attending the vote. The Saenuri party holds 149 seats out of 286 in parliament. Just 6 members voting against will vote down the motion. The main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy declares to have Moon resign by all means, citing public will. If Moon also fails the confirmation, this will disrupt a new cabinet formation and add to the woes of President Park over failed personnel appointments.
Many of us still remember the video capturing the very first Coast Guard boat that arrived at the Saewol ferry accident site. In the video, Coast Guard officers did not appear to be making aggressive efforts to enter the ferry, which flared up public indignation. Now more video has been released showing this very Coast Guard boat, boat number 123.
A Coast Guard boat from the Mokpo District branch is seen at a distance from the Saewol ferry. The boat is carrying rescued crew members and passengers. Inside the patrol boat, calls continue as Coast Guards request more blankets to warm up the body temperature of those who were rescued. On deck, CPR is carried out to resuscitate a student on the verge of life and death. His name was Chung Cha-ung. Chung eventually died after taking off and giving his own life vest to his friend. A Coast Guard helicopter tries to approach the patrol boat to transport patients. However, the rescue worker falls into the water by accident. The video shows Coast Guards running about on board, but they do not seem to grasp the urgency of the situation on the Saewol. During this critical time, the ferry has submerged beneath water. Only its bow shows above the sea line. The latest footage released is 5 minutes 12 seconds in length and was taken at 10:18 a.m. on the day of the accident. The Coast Guard said it discovered this footage while preparing for a parliamentary investigation into the ferry's sinking.
Only one sailor out of the 15 accused crew members of the sunken ferry has pled guilty to the charges of murder and involuntary manslaughter by neglect. Coast Guard first responders, the original captain of the Saewol ferry, and a Danwon High School student will be called as witnesses.
The sunken ferry's captain Lee Jun-seok and crew members arrived at the court for their second hearing. Only the first engineer out of the 15 accused sailors pled guilty to all charges. The engineer's attorney said he will not offer any excuses for failing to rescue the passengers. He also urged the court to punish those who were involved in the renovation of the ferry. 14 other defendants claimed not guilty on most of the charges.
환멸에도 구하고 나와서도 충분히 살 수 있다고 그런 조치를 안 하는 거에 대해서 우리 부모들이 울분이 터지는 거지.
The court accepted most of roughly 900 pieces of evidence presented by the prosecution. The evidence included the video footage of the rescue and communication transcripts. The prosecutors also plan to submit the simulation results soon. The mock test scientifically analyzed the cause of the ferry accident and probability of rescue success rate. For this hearing, the ferry's original captain, the first responders from the Coast Guard, the Filipino singers who were in the wheelhouse at the time of the accident, and a Danon high school student will be called as witnesses.
쟁점과 입증 계획이 정리되는 대로 준비 기일을 마치고 공판 기일을 열어 증거 조사에 들어갈 예정입니다.
Meanwhile, the first trial for the executives of Chung-won Marine indicted for involuntary manslaughter will be held on June 20th.
The prosecution has arrested a female member of the Salvation Sect, a religious group headed by the capsized ferry's real owner, Yoo Byung-un. She's being questioned on suspicion of aiding and abetting Yoo's escape.
The prosecution has arrested a high-ranking female member of the Salvation Sect, known only as Ms. Kim. She is accused of aiding Yoo Byung-un evade the law. Kim is known as one of the closest associates of the owner of the Sewol. The special investigation team at the Incheon District Prosecution Office is questioning her to find out the whereabouts of Yoo and his eldest son, as well as how she aided their flight. In addition, prosecutors are also questioning Yoo's older brother, Pyong-il, and another female church member for Yoo's whereabouts. The two were arrested a few days ago. The search for Yoo continues in the areas near Suncheon and the South Cholla province. DNA evidence proves that Yoo has been there. Investigators also seek Yoo's eldest son, Tae-kyun, in the North Gyeongsang province, where he is rumored to be hiding out. The prosecution suspects that Yoo planned to lay low for a while in the Suncheon region. Given that Yoo is accompanied by a number of associates and didn't have time to prepare for his getaway, he is likely still in these regions. Meanwhile, the court has approved the prosecution's freezing of $21 million of Yoo's family assets. This latest seizure brings Yoo's total amount of frozen assets to over $36.5 million.
During her state visit to Uzbekistan, President Park Geun-hye held a summit with Uzbek President Islam Karimov and agreed to bilateral cooperation in new areas of energy and resources.
President Park Geun-hye held summit talks with Uzbek President Islam Karimov and adopted a joint declaration calling for stronger strategic partnership ties. The two leaders first agreed cooperation in new major projects between the two sides. President Park asked for Tashkent's support for Korean firms to take part in the $4 billion Kandam gas field development, a solar power deal, and a project on e-government. The two also agreed to expand cooperation into textile, agriculture, environment, and logistics industries. They agreed to thoroughly implement bilateral projects worth a total $8 billion, including existing projects already underway, such as the Sorgil gas field development. After the summit, President Park attended a meeting of Korean and Uzbek business people. She stressed it's time for the two sides to bring up the economic cooperation a notch higher.
제조업 등 다양한 분야에서 산업 협력을 확대하고 에너지와 플란트 협력을 강화하면서 평화와 번영의 유라시아 시대를 열기 위해 함께 노력해야 합니다.
During a following state dinner, Park called for stronger cooperation to open up a new Silk Road that connects transportation, logistics, and personnel exchange between the two countries. On Wednesday, the president visited Samarkand, located in the heart of Silk Road, and will head to Kazakhstan for her second leg of her three-nation Central Asian tour.
President Park's recent ministerial nominations continue to stir up controversy. This time, Education Minister Nominee Kim Young-soo has been accused of taking credit for his student's master's degree thesis.
This is a 24-page thesis published in an academic journal in 2002. It was supposedly written by Education Minister Nominee Kim Myung-soo while he taught at the Korea National University of Education. However, it is found to be very similar to a 79-page master's thesis presented 4 months earlier by his student surnamed Chung. After running a check, 89% of Kim's paper was found to be identical or suspected to have been plagiarized from his student's work. In this paper, Kim also listed his name as the first author of the thesis, while his student was listed as the second author. Kim countered this finding, stating that he was named first author to help publicize his students' work in a local academic journal for professors.
연구재단 그 학술 등재지 뭐 이런 것도 아니고 나는 항상 나 뭘 차리기 전에 그 친구들을 도와주려고 했던 건데.
Traditionally, the title of first author is given to someone when his or her participation in the project is deemed greater than that of the second authors. While Kim included his and his students' names on the published paper, he named himself as the sole author on an academic data website where one can fill in their own information.
Creatures spawn and trees shoot their buds earlier than usual nowadays because of the warm weather. Higher temperatures have triggered a chain reaction in the ecosystem, influencing top predatory animals and insects alike.
Frog croaking sound resonates throughout the Jirishan National Park. This frog species, called Dubowski's brown frog, mostly lives in the mountain region. The Ministry of Environment designated it as a climate-sensitive biological indicator species. If the Dubowski's brown frog spawns too early, the eggs, tadpoles, and even full-grown frogs can be killed by a sudden cold spell. Back in March, many dead frogs and eggs were found in valleys where temperatures were unusually low. A mother great tit sits on its eggs in a nest built on the tree branches. There are 4 or 5 eggs in the nest laid about 20 days earlier than usual. Mongolian oaks on Mount Wolchul began shooting their buds about 2 weeks earlier than usual. A study conducted by the Korea National Park Service shows that these animal and plant species spawned or shot their buds 4 to 19 days earlier this year than in the previous year.
단지 기후변화 때문이라고 단언할 수는 없지만 전반적으로 생태계 변화를 가져올 것으로 판단됩니다.
The Korea National Park Service have decided to devise measures based on acquired data to preserve the ecosystem according to climate changes.
Tuning refers to modifying the looks and performance of a car. The government has lifted sanctions on car tuning in a bid to nurture the market to around $4 billion by 2020. Tuning auto parts will be subject to certification. And even regular cars will be allowed to be modified into recreational vehicles and food trucks.
Car owners who plan to replace mufflers in their vehicles must obtain permits from a tuning company that is registered with the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport.
10만 원 돈이 드는데 순정품을 다뤄도 검사가 안 돼요. 실질적으로는.
But because the process is so complex, car owners often modify their cars without permits. To tackle this problem, the government has ruled that car repairs will also require certification for tuning components. Car owners who use 7 or more certified car parts, which include lights, mufflers, and wheels, will no longer have to obtain tuning permits. This allows drivers to modify their cars on their own while ensuring the usage of high-quality car parts. Small to medium-sized car tuning shops are also expected to benefit from this new regulation.
튜닝은 핸드메이드 공정이 굉장히 많습니다. 활성화가 되면은 많은 인력들도 필요로 하고.
The government will also require automakers to provide evidence for causes of technical problems in tuned cars when they refuse to repair such vehicles within the guaranteed period. In doing so, the government eases regulations on car tune-ups, enabling car owners to modify their own vans into camping cars or freight trucks into food trucks.
캠핑카와 푸드트럭은 시작에 불과하고요. 국민들이 원하는 형태의 차량을 제작하는 데 있어서 중소기업이 진출하는 데 도움이 되도록 정부가 지원하고.
The government anticipates these new measures will boost the car tuning market. The industry is expected to increase up to $4 billion by 2020, while the workforce is anticipated to increase to 40,000.
Age is only a number, and there are quite a lot of older people who prove it every day, like a writer who transcribed an epic novel in her 80s, or a 90-year-old man who took up table tennis. Here are some amazing elderly folks who don't let their age get them down, proving that they're young at heart. Last Sunday, 5 people, including a middle-aged lady and a college student, were awarded at a special ceremony. But the most conspicuous award recipient was 81-yeold An Jung-ja.
2012년도 4월 24일 날부터 시작했고 2년을 약속하고 21개월 만에 마쳤거든요.
She finished transcribing the 10-volume epic in just 21 months. Stacked up, her 13,000-page work measures a whopping 1.6 meters. Her endeavor amazed even Jo Jung-nae, the author of the novel Taebaek Mountain Range.
젊은이가 해도 어려운 일이고 60몇 개월씩 걸리는 중노동인데 80 넘으신 분이 했다는 것을 듣고 작가로서 사는 의미를 새삼스럽게 깨달았습니다.
This elderly lady finished transcribing a multi-volume novel in a short time, something that even a young person would find hard to do, but she has been transcribing for roughly a decade. What motivates her to copy thousands of pages at a time?
글 쓰는 게 참 좋아요. 읽는 것도 좋고 쓰는 것도 좋고. 문예 창작반 시간에 선생님이 필사하면 글이 늘게 된다 했으로 태백산맥을 딱 들미더라고. 그래서 내가 필사하겠습니다. 이래서 필사하기 시작했어요.
She wrote the Buddhist scriptures hundreds of times. Now she can finish them from memory. But she still dreams of doing something special.
앞으로 하고 싶은 게 있다면 자서전도 나는 쓰고 필사도 더 하고 그래가지고 젊은이들이나 우리 노인들이나 하면 할 수 있다는 거 보여주고 싶습니다.
Another elder is showing off his excellent health and determination at this gym in a quiet rural village. See how this grandpa moves with speed and agility rivaling his much younger counterparts. It's hard to believe that he's 92 years old. He started playing table tennis 5 years ago.
내 몸을 위해서다가 치는 게 그걸 아주 스릴 있게 넘기고 치고 그게 아주 좋았다가.
The older man challenges a much younger player who claims that he's never lost a match. Guess who came out on top? He used to be an elementary school teacher, and in his younger days he excelled in judo, Korean wrestling, and various other sports.
칠 때 이제 그때는 다른 거 다 잊어버리고 오로지 거기에만 정신이 집중되고 괜찮아. 앞으로 죽을 때까지 내가 치는 거지 뭐 움직일 동안에는 다 그렇지.
At this live music cafe in Gwangju, customers enjoy an impromptu jazz performance. They marvel at the musicians' talent, but there's yet another reason for their admiration. The members of this jazz band average 63 years in age. They've been holding concerts and impromptu performances for the past 2 years. They had to practice exceptionally hard to reach this level of artistry, but they say it hasn't been so challenging.
한번 모이면 한 2시간, 3시간 연습 재밌으니까 시간이 금방 지나가거든요. 젊었을 때는 그냥 모르고 자기 음악이 아니고 나이를 먹어다 보니까 음악을 좀 이해가 되고 깊이가 더 있는 것 같아서 더 좋죠.
Their music, infused with their life experiences, has a different appeal than the music of the younger generation.
60인데 10년 후 고2 때나 초대해서 재즈 음악을 화려하게 나오고 싶어요. 음악에 있다는 보람을 그때 긍지를 갖고 싶어요.
These senior citizens seem to grow younger each year, perhaps because they try to make every moment count and live their lives to the fullest. And now we'll take a look at the markets, followed by the world weather. And that's it for this edition of News Today. Tomorrow, we'll be bringing you special programming on the World Cup in Brazil. Have a great day, and we'll see you again on Friday.